I've spent the last nearly 14 years helping people invest in property so that ultimately they could have more financial choices, including potentially retiring earlier. And during that time, many of my clients have been stunned to see that they had certain money habits that they weren't even aware of, that if they just made some slight tweaks to, would get them ahead faster without earning any extra. So today, in this video, I'm going to share with you what 5 of those habits are and what you can do to change them so that you too could potentially be in a position to retire earlier. Number 1, spending everything you earn and potentially even more. Look, I know that right now we have a cost of living crisis around the globe. Inflation is rampant, the cost of goods and services is going through the roof. But the fact is that unless you can find a way to spend less than you earn, you will almost certainly never be wealthy. I've had countless clients over the years tell me that they pretty much spend everything they earn, or they don't even know where all their money goes because they don't have a money spending plan. And when I show them how they can redirect money towards their savings, how they could potentially reduce some of their debts, and how they can take some of their money and put it towards their investment goals so that they can retire earlier, that you can see a huge sense of joy on their faces, and they go away with a feeling of optimism and confidence about their future that they've never had before. Warren Buffett said, "Don't save what's left after spending, spend what's left after saving." Now, you might think, oh, well, that's great. He's a guy who's really, really rich. But the fact is that if you can employ this mindset of deciding how much you're going to save out of your pay packet first and then spend the rest, you'll be surprised at how your mind finds ways to ensure that what you've decided to spend is all that you need. And my recommendation is that you work up to saving 10% of what you earn. Number 2, relying on savings to make you wealthy. Here's why the banks and the entire financial system have rigged the game of money against you if you rely purely on savings. Let's say, for example, you have $1,000 in the bank on the 1st of January, and you decide that's your savings, you're going to keep it there. But then you're also thinking in your head, oh, but there's this thing out there in the marketplace that you want to buy that's also going to cost you $1,000. Great. You then think, look, I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to wait 12 months. I'm going to let my money work for me. It's going to save. I'm going to get some interest. Then I'm going to go and buy this thing that you're looking to buy. Then in 12 months time, let's say you've been getting 5% interest on that money. Okay. So that means your $1,000 is now worth $1,000 plus 5%, or $1,050. Now you got to decide to go and buy the thing that you're looking to buy. The problem is that if inflation is, say, 8%, then that $1,000 thing that you were looking to buy on January, at the end of December, is now $1,080. And you don't have the money to go and buy this thing anymore. You're actually poorer because your savings rate will almost always be less than inflation. So that's why for people out there who don't want to invest, who are relying purely on savings, they're never going to get to a position where they can retire early and be financially free because they're constantly playing a game where the system is rigged against them. That's why once you have enough in savings, you need to start taking some of that money and putting it into investments that will grow in value, and more importantly, grow in value faster than the rate of inflation. Number 3, not investing early enough. Most people I know will choose to pay down all of their debt, their personal mortgage especially, before they look to invest in property. Here's why that can often slow you down from being able to retire earlier. Let's say, for example, you have your own home, you have some equity in it, but you also have a mortgage. Now, if you're going to choose to wait until you've paid down all of that mortgage before you buy an investment property, it could be several years, potentially maybe 20 years before you buy an investment property. And the odds are, though, that the investment properties would have risen in value and you'd have missed out on all that growth. So instead, let's say, for example, you take some of the equity out of your home and you go and buy an investment property. Let's say it's negatively cash flow to the tune of $600 a month. Here's why that investment could really help you get ahead faster. Number one, rents are likely to increase. Okay, now let's say rents increase on average about $120 per week. They're rising much more than that in many areas around the country, but let's just start with $120. Now that means that all else being equal and interest rates stay where they are and they don't fall in value, that within roughly 5 years, this property that was negatively cash flow and costing you $600 per month is going to now be cash flow neutral. It's not going to cost you anything. That means that from that point on, the property will be giving you a little bit of extra money each and every month. Secondly though, over that 5-year period, that property would almost certainly have risen in value if you've bought well. Then after that 5-year point, the property is giving you money, so it's not costing you anything to hold, and it's continuing to rise in value. So then maybe in a few years later, you could choose to sell that investment property and pay down your mortgage completely and be debt free, or simply keep that investment property, and as it continues to rise in value and give you more passive income and positive cash flow, you take that equity and that positive cash flow and then buy a second property or a third property, and you start building your wealth more quickly. The fact is that the sooner you get into buying quality investments that rise in value faster than inflation, like I said earlier on, the faster you'll be able to be in a position where you can retire earlier. And if you'd like help investing in property, check out the link in the description below to get totally for free the digital version and audio version of my book, which contains a full blueprint on how to invest in property based on my now 22 years of investment experience. Number 4, falling victim to the two-faced messages of major financial organizations. Look, I'm not here to bash banks or major financial organizations at all, but ask yourself this question. How can 11% be considered a low number, but 5% be considered a high number? Right? I mean, how many times have you seen marketing messages from major financial organizations where they'll say, they'll give you a very high rate on your savings of 5%, but then they'll give you a very low rate on a car loan at 11%. As I said earlier, since when is 11 lower than 5, right? These are the messages that banks give us. And although initially it makes zero sense, when we hear it so many times, eventually we end up in a scenario where we almost buy into these messages. That's why so many people are comfortable taking out car loans at 11, 12, 13% or even higher. But then they're afraid to take out a mortgage on an investment property where the interest rate might be 6 or 7%. And that's why then people get comfortable with bad debt, which is a burden to them, like a car loan, where they have to work to pay that debt off. And while they're doing that, what they've bought is going down in value. A car doesn't rise in value, as I'm sure you know. On the flip side though, they are so afraid of getting into what's called good debt or leverage, debt that gets you wealthier faster, like buying an investment property. And next up we have spending money on things that make you look rich rather than actually get you to be rich. Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't buy nice things. For one, I'm someone who likes to buy nice things. But what I will say is that you don't want to buy things that make you look good to others, but stress you out financially and cause you so much pain in private. What's the point of doing something that makes others think you're doing well, but in reality causes you so much pain? You see, because what I've learned is the truly wealthy don't buy their toys and their expensive goods using their hard-earned money. No, rather they put that hard-earned money into investments. And when those investments start giving them passive income, money they don't have to work for anymore, they take that money and use it to buy their own toys, their luxury goods, whatever else is they're after. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment below as to which habit you feel has the most detrimental effect to you and how you can change it.